Assalamu alaikum, dear students. Hope you all are fine and in good health. Welcome to Zoom online class. I'm your science teacher, and today is the summary lecture of unit number 1, that is cells, tissue, and organ. So, dear students, all organisms, plants, and animals, they are made up of tiny units called cells. Although there are many different types of cells, all of which have different jobs, right? Cells are basically the smallest unit of life, and this study of cell is called the cell biology. So cell is the basic unit of life for all living organisms, or you can say it is the basic structure and the function unit of life. Nothing in the body would function without the cells. So there are many parts to cells. You can see in the diagram to your right. So cells contain DNA. Every function in your body is done at the cellular level. So here in this diagram you can see the animal cell, right? So this simple animal cell, they have only a thin cell membrane. They do not have a cell wall, and they do not have chloroplast or a large and a permanent vacuole. However, they may have small vacuoles which only last for a short time. So most plants and animals are made up of 1,000 or millions of tiny cells. And all cells contain cytoplasm and nucleus and are enclosed by a cell membrane. Now, as I have told you earlier, that cells, when they combine together, they form tissues, right? So similar cells come together to form tissues, and these cells organize themselves and put themselves into a group so they can work together to perform a function. This is the first organization that cells make up. So cells of the same type, they will usually group together to form a tissue. All living tissue is made from a group of similar cells which all work together to do a particular job. So when cells they combine together, they form tissues. So the body is made up of 4 types of tissue. Here you can see connective tissue, epithelial tissue, muscle tissue, nerve tissue, and in your book there is a photosynthetic and epidermal tissues are present also. So here are some examples of tissues from plant and animal. When you talk about the connective tissue, they connect and support the tissue. Not many cells around, just non-living material. When you talk about the epithelial tissue, where are they present? They are basically present on the surface of an animal skin and lining the tubes and other spaces inside the animal's body, including the mouth. They are made of sheets of cells. There are different sheets, and they protect the structure that is underneath. When you talk about the muscle tissue, they are found in the limbs and in the wall of certain organs, and they are made of bundle of muscle cells. What is their job? They contract to bring about the movement in animal's body. Now let us discuss nerve tissue. Where are they found? It is in the brain and spinal cord of an animal, and it is made of a network of nerve cells, and their job is that they carry messages from one part of an animal body to another. So they are some examples of tissues from plant and animal. In your book you have a photosynthetic tissue as well, and they are also present on leaves and other green parts, right? And there is a supporting tissue that is present in the plant stem. Now, we have discussed about the connective tissue, epithelial tissue, muscle tissue, nervous tissue. Now let us discuss that what will happen. As we know that cells, when they combine together, they form tissues. But when tissues, they combine together, what is formed? Like cells and tissues are organized into a large body parts called the organ. So when tissues combine together, organs are formed, right? So an organ is made from a group of different tissues which all work together to do a particular job, like the heart, lungs, stomach, intestine, brain, and eyes. They are the example of the organs in an animal. But when we talk about the flowering plant, they also have an organ. The root, stem, leaves, they are the organs of the plant. And also are the parts of the flower. You can say they are the parts of the flowers, and they are also the organ of the plant, right? So when these tissues combine, they form an organ. So cell and tissues are organized into a large body part that is called organ. So group of tissues put together form an organ that will perform a certain task. As I've told you, there are different organs: heart, lungs, stomach, intestine, brain, eyes. They are the example of the organs, right? So the organ in our body each have a specific job. Like the heart job is to pump the blood throughout the body. Problem is that heart cannot do this alone, right? When organs come together to perform a function in the body, it is called a system. Heart alone cannot pump the blood throughout the body, so it requires a proper system. So when organs come together to perform a function in the body, it is called a system. Organs are found all throughout the body. They are each part of a system. Like we are discussing about the heart. So heart requires a proper system that is known as a circulatory system. So what does circulatory system do? This circulatory system moves the blood around the body in order to transport digestive food, oxygen, carbon dioxide, urea, hormones, and heat. So this system is required to complete the task of circulation of blood throughout the body. Similarly, there is another system, that is excretory system. The excretory system, they remove the waste chemicals from the body. When you talk about the skeletal system, the skeletal system support the body and protect the certain delicate organs, right? Digestive system, that break down food material into form that can be absorbed into the blood. And another system, that is the respiratory system, that put oxygen into the blood and remove the carbon dioxide and water vapor. So there are different systems. Nervous system that controls the many activities, the body activities. Muscular system, endocrine system, reproductive system. So these various systems in the human body, they make up an entire body of an organism. So systems are the general makeup of organs, right? You can say that a group of organs that work together to carry out a certain job or function is called an organ system. For instance, in the human body and the bodies of other mammals, the excretory system, when you talk about the excretory system, it consists of the kidney, uterus, bladder, and urethra. So these parts work together to keep the right amount of water in the body and to get rid of waste chemicals. So this is the duty, this is the job of the excretory system, to remove the waste chemicals from the body. So different organs are required. When these organs work together, that will form a system, like kidney, uterus, bladder, urethra. These are the organs. When they combine together, they form a system. And what is the name of that system? The excretory system. So the excretory system consists of the kidney, uterus, bladder, urethra. So these parts will work together to keep the right amount of water in the body and to get rid of waste chemicals. Right? Now let us discuss about the structure of plant cells. Although both plants and animal cells normally have a cell membrane, cytoplasm and nucleus, there are some features found in plant cells that are not present in animal cell. Like you can see in this diagram, cell wall is present. Plant cells have a cell wall as well as a cell membrane. The cell wall is made up of a material called cellulose and it helps to keep the plant rigid. It also contains a vacuole. So you can see a large vacuole, that is a bag-like structure in the center of the cytoplasm, and it takes up most of the space inside the cell and contains a solution of sugar and salt, and this solution is called cell sap. So the cell sap pushes the cytoplasm up against the cell wall to keep the cell rigid. Here again in this diagram you can see a chloroplast. Now this function of chloroplast, that it contains the green pigment called chlorophyll. So chlorophyll is used by the plants in photosynthesis. And you know already that what is photosynthesis? That is the process by which plants make their own food. So it is important to remember that unlike many animals, plants do not have a skeleton. They keep their shape because the cell wall and the cell sap in the vacuole keep the cells rigid. Here on the screen you can see an animal cell. Simple animal cells have the basic structure that is shown in the diagram. Animal cells differ from the plant cell. You know why? They only have a thin cell membrane. They do not have a cell wall. They do not have chloroplast or a large and a permanent vacuole. However, they may have a small vacuoles which only last for a short time. So they contain a cytoplasm, right? Now cytoplasm is present in both animal and in plant cell. What is its function? It is basically a jelly-like substance which makes up most of the cell in both plants and animals. The cytoplasm contains a number of small structures called organelles, and these do several things. They also contain the mitochondria that produce energy for the cell, and it also contains ribosomes that make proteins. They receive chemical messages from the nucleus which tell them exactly which protein to make. The nucleus that is present in both plant and animal cell. So the nucleus contains the substance that is called DNA. DNA is abbreviation that deoxyribonucleic acid. The nucleus carries the plans for the plant or animal the cell will grow into or be part of. It controls the kinds of chemicals the cell makes and how much of each of them is produced. It also controls how and when the cell divides. A plant or animal cell without a nucleus cannot reproduce. And they also contain a cell membrane. Cell membrane is also present in both plants and animal. What is the function of the cell membrane? The cell membrane controls what goes into and out of the cell, right? Now let us just discuss about the specialist plant cells. Although all plant cells have the same basic structure, many of them are adapted to carry out special jobs within the plant. Now here are the two examples. The first one is a palisade cell. Now look at this diagram. This is a palisade cell. These cells are mostly found in the top surfaces of leaves. They have a lot of extra chloroplast and they trap the sunlight and carry out photosynthesis, right? So this is basically the structure of a palisade cells. It contains nucleus, cell wall, chloroplast, vacuole and cytoplasm. Then another example is root hair cell. Root hair cells do not have chloroplast. They do not need chlorophyll as they are mostly found underground. And what's their job? Their job is to draw in water and mineral salt from the soil. They are long and thin to provide a large surface area. So its structure is like a large surface area to absorb lots of water. There are thin cell wall to allow water to pass through easily, and does not contain any chloroplast unlike all other plant cells. So its basically function is to absorb minerals and water from the soil. And here on the screen you can see the diagram of a root hair cell. Then let us discuss about the specialist animal cell. Here on the screen you can see the red blood cells. So some animal cells are adapted to carry out complicated tasks within the animal's body. Now this is the type of a cell which is red blood cells, and they carry oxygen around the body in the blood. Now this cell does not contain nucleus, so there is no nucleus, and their shape is biconcave shape. Give the largest surface area for absorbing the oxygen, and it contains the hemoglobin which combines with oxygen. So this is the red blood cell that you can see on the screen, and it carries oxygen around the body in the blood, and there is no nucleus, and their shape is biconcave. Then there is a nerve cell. Nerve cell, their job is to carry messages around the body. You can see on the screen that this is the nerve cell, and also contain the nucleus, cell body, dendrites, axon, right? So they carry messages around the body, and they are very long and thin, up to 1 meter long, and their connections are at both ends, and they can carry electrical signals. Then there is a ciliated epithelial cells. You can see the tiny here. They are the cilia that make sweeping movements. They also contain nucleus and cell membrane. So the tiny hair called cilia, all along the upper surface, they sweep the dust and microbes along in the airways, such as the lining of the nose and windpipe, so keeping them clean. So ciliated cells in the oviducts move the egg cells along from the ovaries to the uterus. So here on the screen you can see the plant organs. The main plant organ are the flower, which contains the plant reproductive organs, the stem, the leaves and the roots, with a typical land plant growing in the soil. The root system is everything growing below the ground, and the shoot system is everything above the soil. So there is division. Like the root system is everything growing below the ground, inside the ground, and above the ground, that is the shoot system. The shoot system is everything that is above the soil, right? So in a plant organ you can see flower, stem, leaves and root. So the flower contains the plant's reproductive organ. Many flowers attract the insects which carry pollen between plants to bring about pollination and fertilization. So flower contains the plant's reproductive organ. Then there is a stem. The stem usually grows upward toward the light, and it carries water and mineral salt to the leaves and food around the plant. Here on the screen you can see the stem as well. Then there are the leaves. The leaves are the organs of photosynthesis, and you know that photosynthesis is a process in which plants make up their food in the presence of sunlight. So the leaves are the organs of photosynthesis. They make up all the food for the plant. The leaves contain chlorophyll, which uses light to change carbon dioxide and water into the sugar glucose. Leaves have tiny pores on their undersides. These let essential carbon dioxide in and waste oxygen and water out. Then there is a root. The root anchors the plant in the soil so that it does not blow away or fall over by accident. The root hair provide a large surface area to take in water and mineral salts from the soil. So here on the screen you can see important statements. So underline all these statements or use a highlighter and learn all these statements, and make sure that you must understand all these lines and paragraphs, right? So read this paragraph very carefully. The basic fact portion is very important, and read this portion of basic facts very carefully. On the page number 3 you can see there is also a few statements are underlined. So these are the important paragraphs. Again on page number 4 statements are underlined, so you have to underline all these statements in your book as well. Page number 5, here the first paragraph, that's unicellular multicellular organism, very important, so read the whole para carefully. And the other table of tissue is also important, so learn this table as well. Then there is another portion, that is page number 6, organ, so highlight all these definitions in your book. On the screen you can see the highlighted statements, so you must read all these statements. The circulatory system function, the nervous system, digestive system, respiratory system. So underline all these important statements as you can see on the screen. And again on this page of plant organ you can see that you have to underline all the important statements of flower, stem, leaf and root and their function. So must highlight all these statements in your book as well. So dear students, I hope you understood all the lecture. Thank you so much. Stay home, stay safe. Allah Hafiz.